A lot of people are talking about how all the Oscars picks this year were like woke films and they're tired of it. Minari is like not even woke. It's just about people who don't get seen a whole lot. Like there is literally maybe one mention of something like about race, and then it's like by a kid, and he's like, "Oh, never mind." Like that's it. This movie's literally just about a family. So you just assumed it was woke. Why? Because there was an Asian person in it. Minari stars Stephen Yeun from The Walking Dead, along with Hanya Ree, Noel Cho, Alan S. Kim, and Yuh-Jung Youn. Forgive me if I butchered any of those names. This movie is your regular Make It in America type of slice of life movie, but it does give a lot more representation to a group that isn't seen as well, as intensely, as deeply in film than, maybe more recently. Stephen Yeun's character wants to stop his chick separating factory job and move to America, build his own farm, and grow his own business, selling Korean fruits and vegetables because he thinks that there might be a really big market for that in America. This is a very real movie, like any other slice of life, but it's also very wholesome, and it's a very, I don't want to say a nice movie to watch because that makes it sound boring, but it is. Like there's obviously a lot of drama and a lot of very emotional moments, but there's just a lot of really nice moments with this family and what they do on their farm. There's a lot of great moments just seeing them learning all of this, and just little moments, going to church, spending time with each other. Obviously there is a lot of other tension that comes along the way, but it's a nice look into this family, into this life that not a lot of people really know about. The performances in this movie are pretty incredible. Stephen Yeun does an amazing job as this father who obviously wants good for his family, but he really wants this dream. And it's that age old, I want to do my dream, but I have a family, and you kind of start to have to pick and choose, and it gets really rough when things aren't going so well, but he still wants this dream because it's that, or he goes back to Korea and back to chickens separating. And of course, his wife starts to have a problem with this because not only is she not already on board towards the beginning when they seem to have a pretty, let's be honest, shitty setup, then as things get even harder, she's the one who, while he's living out his dream, he obviously is stressed about it as well, but she's the one who's really taking the brunt of where's the money coming from? What about our children? Our son has a heart problem. We have to look out for him. So there's all these really big tensions that come in, especially when her mother comes in, their grandmother, played by Young Jung Yoon. There's this nice little rivalry between the son and the grandmother. It's really funny and fun to watch, honestly. At first, the grandmother actually kind of annoyed me, and there are parts throughout where she still sort of annoys me, but she's such a good character because she's a really cool grandmother. Like, she tries to be like this responsible person, but she's kind of a kid at heart, to be honest with you. She's really funny, and she does a lot of these things with the son, and the son does some things to her that they're sort of almost pranking each other back and forth, but she looks out for him. Like, even when he gets in trouble, the parents want to basically, they're like, go get a stick. And she's like, no, you don't have to do that. Like, it's this really wholesome relationship that they have where they start to grow toward each other a little bit more, the grandmother and the son. The only character who really doesn't do that much, to be honest with you, is the daughter, because since the son has the heart problems, so he already have that stress going for him. And he also has the relationship with the grandmother. She has obviously the relationship with the grandmother as well, but she's not as defined. Like, she has like the youth group, but I thought we were going to see more of that, and we don't. So I wish we had seen a little bit more of her. That's a little bit of low, but I can talk about that in a second. But Yeo Jung Yoon's performance wholeheartedly deserved this Oscar that she got for supporting actress because she had all of that comedy and she was very funny, but it made it that much more impactful when she is like I don't want to say why, but she has a lot of issues later on, and it's a lot more emotional. She's a lot quieter. She doesn't really say much of anything, and she just looks pained all the time. And that contrast was so heartbreaking. And there's this one scene at the end that, with the kids and with her, is just, it's so emotional, it's so powerful. It's one of those things that I don't quite understand all of this movie, but I could feel it. I want to go back and watch this movie a few more times because there's just some things that I feel like either I just didn't understand it, or I was like, maybe I just was overlooking a theme or something. But I feel like there was just a lot of things to feel in this movie, even if it wasn't all plot, plot, plot. There is one other character who's really intriguing. He helps Steven Yeun's character on the farm, and he just seems like somebody who, at first I was like, oh no, this is going to turn into a race thing, but he was just a cool kind of guy. I don't know. He's really, really quirky and really, really religious, like that, like zealous religious, but not the kind that you're thinking where it's like he's judging other people or he's putting it on other people. He's putting it on himself, and he's very quirky about everything. Like he's really like, no, I don't want to smoke. And on Sundays, he carries a cross like Jesus did down the road. Like he's really committed. And again, that's another thing that I'm like, I don't completely understand why or what the purpose of it was. Religion is a very big theme in this movie. But again, I just found the whole thing kind of endearing and interesting, especially the family's reactions to all of this. My other big high for this movie is the score. It is awesome. And I'm so pissed it did not win Best Score at the Oscars because it is just haunting. It's like one of those like choral themes where it sounds happy and sad at the same time. It's like beautiful, and I just want to cry. It really honestly should have won because it just on its own, it's just so good. And then especially with the scenes in the movie, I loved it so much. There is a moment at the end where there's a little bit of a theme. I don't think it's the main theme, but it is scarily close to Dean's theme from Supernatural. Take a listen to this. Again, there are some moments that I feel were sort of irrelevant, and it's really very hard to judge a slice of life movie because it is slice of life. There's supposed to be these moments that are just there, and you're like, I don't even know what the point of that was because it's all about character. But I still think there were some that could have been maybe cut out, or it was like I wanted more of that. Like I was talking about with the daughter, we got some moments where I was like, okay, we didn't really need all of that, and then we didn't get as many moments like with her where it could have fleshed out her character more. So I thought, they could have balanced it out a little bit better, but that's a real, like in really small moments, I would say. The other thing I didn't quite understand was the ending. The ending is very, like I've said before, very powerful, very emotional. And it comes after this really big fight between the husband and the wife. Like, it's just the tensions are rising. And then something happens that brings it all to a head. And really gives a lot of meaning to this. Now, you see visually, in terms of the actions they take, that where they are in that argument. They're sort of... the closure, sort of some closure, I would say. But I don't necessarily think the closure is actually that much of a closure. It sounds very vague because I don't want to tell you what happens. It just seems like something is resolved just in that moment. I feel like where it goes from there and where it ends, like to the credits, it seems like one of them sort of just gave in to the other because what they were fighting about isn't necessarily resolved because it's still sort of an issue. It's really hard to try to phrase this without saying what happens. Basically, I just feel like one of them gives into the other. They don't really get their way, so it doesn't feel like their side of it was really resolved, and then the movie ends. And so I just was like, well, how did you come to that decision? And, we never really see that character again, so we don't even get their reaction. And so it's a very hard thing to try to figure out. If you've seen the movie, I hope you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I just wanted to see, I guess, a little bit more of the aftermath of what happens and how that affected them and why they've come to this decision. Overall, Minari is a pretty regular story because it's slice of life, but the details are what matter. The little moments between characters, just being able to have this look into this family that doesn't get represented a whole lot in mainstream media. And even then, this is A24. It's like mainstream, but not really mainstream, like indie mainstream. I really liked it. There's not a whole lot to it. There's a lot of very emotional moments, but I just really liked watching it. I would definitely watch this a couple times, more just to get more of it now that I know everything that happens. A lot of people compare this to Nomadland because it came out around the same time. It also deals with basically slice of life and sort of some vignettes about just a person or a set of people who are outside in America just trying to make it in this sort of lifestyle. And so there are a lot of similarities there for just the two movies that came out around the same time, but I think this one is a lot more relatable. I think this one makes you feel a little bit more. I think I liked this one a bit more. Again, it's not like a lot more happens or anything, but I just liked it better. I'm going to give Minari a 3.5 out of 4. Okay, that officially wraps up the Oscars. I know they were already over, but like I said, I wanted to kind of take my time with this one and not rush it right before the Oscars actually started, because I had a lot of like good feelings about this one. I definitely think it should have won a lot more Oscars than it did, but there was a lot of things screwed up with the Oscars this year. So looking ahead to the rest of this week, it is Geek Week, and if you saw my Instagram video on my story, I almost forgot. Like, I definitely almost forgot that it was like Battle of Hogwarts Day and that this is Geek Week. But that's okay. I'm going to do a bunch of stuff, so look forward to all of that. I want to do some rankings and some fun things like that. Now that I've kind of introduced myself last Geek Week to all the stuff that I like, I can kind of do some more with it, which I'm really excited about. So, and as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and movies right in the middle. I'll see you guys later.